Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for another transfer show, and I am your host, Dan Bardell, and this show is sponsored by Match Bingo. You can download the Match Bingo app by heading to 1874.io/matchbingo. If you do that and you want to get yourself some bingo cards, that really helps our channel, so we really appreciate it. Any support you can offer with downloading the Match Bingo app would be much appreciated, and it's a chance to win a little bit of money as well. As I've said, this is a transfer show. Did a show yesterday. Well, I didn't do a show yesterday. I put a show out yesterday of myself and Kev Hatchard talking transfers on Monday night on TalkSport. Yesterday, I was in London all day. Today, just thought I'd jump on and have a little bit of a catch-up. There's plenty of stuff going on, actually, generally in football at the moment, but Villa things seem to be clicking up through the gears now. There seems to be more things taking place, more rumours, more concrete stuff as well. So I thought I'd just talk through the main prevalent news that's been across the Aston Villa stratosphere in the last 24 hours. So we'll start with Emi Martinez. Now, this tweet is from 433 that you're seeing on the screen now, but it's come from a really reputable journalist in South America, at Gaston Idol. I've definitely said that wrong. But Manchester United have made a concrete move for Emi Martinez, and negotiations with Aston Villa are already underway. Now, this journalist is top draw for South American players. He very rarely is wide of the mark, and he's obviously he's got good sources. He's getting his news from somewhere. He's reported that Manchester United are now negotiating with Aston Villa for Emi Martinez, and that this is kind of a priority. Now, I said a few weeks ago, I'd spoke to a few people, and it felt like before Emi Martinez came back, it was 70-30 that he was out the door. Then it went a little bit quiet, as it usually does when I do a show on something. The opposite decides it's going to happen, even if I've got good information. So he's obviously reported back to pre-season, and I was kind of guilty of maybe thinking, you know what, he's come back through the door at Bodymore. He looks happy. He's here. Maybe this will just go away. Emi Martinez is going to be the Aston Villa goalkeeper for the foreseeable. Now, that still might be what happens, but definitely if this journalist, Gaston Idol, who I've said absolutely terribly, is reporting this, there's something in it. Now, we've seen with Manchester United and Brian Mbeumo that just because they want a player doesn't necessarily mean it happens. And also it doesn't mean that it necessarily happens very quickly. They seem to be working in 50p increments at the moment with their bids to Brentford. Brentford have set the price that they want. Manchester United are yet to hit that number. The other thing is that Cunha and Mbeumo seem to be the two main targets. We have heard that the rest of Manchester United's transfer business is going to have to be facilitated by sales. Now, Bardell might end up going, but I don't think he'd bring in the kind of money that would enable them to make a move for Emi Martinez. And Andre Onana is injured at the moment. I still think it's going to be difficult for Manchester United to get what they need to do this. They might pull a financial lever in Barcelona style to be able to do it. They might decide that a goalkeeper like Emi Martinez is really important. But I don't think this is going to be anything that happens quickly. This will drag on. This will be one that goes into August, and I imagine the season starts, and Emi Martinez may well still be a Villa player. Obviously, we know he can't play in the first game, or it might even be the first 3 games. I still haven't had that confirmed, actually. We know he can't play at the start of the season. I think this will drag on. Manchester United, I think they'd be silly not to move for a goalkeeper, in my opinion, in their rebuild with what they're looking to do. That everything starts from the back in football, in my opinion. And if you've got the goalkeeper wrong, you're going to struggle. So I think this is going to be one that's going to rumble on through the transfer window. But as it stands at the moment, no fair grade or anything like that. We know from other deals that terms may well have been discussed, may well have been mooted, and Manchester United may be able to agree that quite quickly with the player. But they've got to get the transfer fee right, and I imagine them trying to hit Villa's number will take some time. So it's one we're going to have to watch for a few weeks. Not sure what percentage I'd give it. I'd probably say 50-50 actually at the moment as to whether Emi Martinez stays or not, just because I'm not sure that Manchester United will get the money together to hit the number that Villa want. But negotiations are clearly taking place, so it's one that we'll keep our eye on. Next one, Marco Bizot has signed from Brest. Still not sure I'm pronouncing that with a great French accent or pronouncing it right at all, but we'll learn as the season goes on. Now, again, I referenced the show that I did with Kev Hatchard. Kev gave a good lowdown on what to expect, and he told me both on air and off air that this is kind of a luxurious option to have as a number 2, and that he's a very good goalkeeper. Was a big part of what Brest did last year, an experienced head as well, who will be a high standard of number 2. So if Kev Hatchard, European football expert's impressed with it, I'm impressed with it. So great to get that in. I've said previously, I don't think it'll take much to be an upgrade on the last goalkeeper. I don't think he's going to be a problem around the place. He knows he's going to be starting the season as well. A good professional, a Dutch international, albeit he's only got one cap. He's been around the block, got experience of playing in Europe as well, got experience of playing at the highest level. So I don't think there's much not to like with this. Now, people may look at the backup goalkeeper and thought Villa might go the route of buying a young up-and-coming goalkeeper. We're already kind of working with not much headroom with budgets and stuff at the moment anyway. So I think they've made the right decision, getting in a cheap goalkeeper to back up Emi Martinez or whoever will be the number one. I think it's quite crucial to say that if Emi Martinez goes, Bizot's not going to be the number one. They'll look to replace Emi Martinez. He's come in as a number two goalkeeper that's going to push and work with the first choice goalkeeper, but someone that when they play, there won't be a drop off because he's got high standards. He's been around. He knows what he's doing. Played at the highest level, as I say. This is a good move, and the simplest way of looking at it is that it's an upgrade on what we had last season as a number two goalkeeper. So for a first signing of the summer, it's not the most flashy, but it is a necessity. It's one we all knew that we needed, and it's one that the club has got done. So well done to the club. And also, I will say, wasn't many rumours around this one, was there? It suddenly just came, and then it's been done. That's how Villa prefer to do their business. It is hard to try and look at what Villa are doing and try and get wind of what Aston Villa are doing in the transfer market. Next one, The Athletic reported yesterday, Jacob Tanswell, my good friend, and Paul Taylor, who's the Forest writer for The Athletic, that Jacob Ramsey is of interest to Nottingham Forest. We know there's interest from Spurs as well, but by the way it was reported, I think we can all agree that this feels like quite concrete interest, and it feels like one that if Morgan Gibbs-White does make the move to Spurs, Forest will test Villa. Now, like I've just said about Emi Martinez, I don't think there'll be any messing around from Forest. I think they'll just hit a number and see what Villa do. And it'd be interesting to see how Villa react to that. Now, in the article, it cites that Jacob Ramsey's a homegrown player. That's important for registration rules in terms of Europe this season, and that Emery does rate Ramsey very highly. I still get the feeling that we have to sell someone, and just to give us a bit more wiggle room to bring multiple players in. I think without selling anyone, I don't think we're going to be able to make multiple signings. That's the feeling that I'm getting at the moment. And Ramsey, although not on a high wage, is on a wage, so it does help with SCR, PSR in the future. It's pure profit, so it's definitely one to keep an eye on. The thing I found most interesting about the article was it talking about that Jacob Ramsey fits Nottingham Forest's transfer strategy bang on, and I thought, what does that mean? I'm not sure about that. But then I thought about it. And actually, if you look at some of the signings that they've made, they've signed a lot of players that have progressed through Premier League academies and become first team players and then kind of lost their way a little bit. Now, I don't think Jacob Ramsey falls into the category of an Alanga or a Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think Nico Williams, it was at Liverpool's academy as well. But Forest have kind of bought that type of player really, really well and built them up and given them some confidence and given them the platform to go out and play. And it's worked well for them. And you've seen recently that they've sold Alanga for a huge profit, which is great for them. I'm sure they'd have rather kept him, but it's good business by Nottingham Forest. Now, I don't think Ramsey's lost his way to the extent of some of those players that I just mentioned, but there's no denying that there's not the player there that there was in Emery's first kind of half a season. He hasn't kicked on. Injuries have been a massive part of that. He had a season where he couldn't really stay fit and had a disruptive start to the last season as well. And then really when he was available, he probably wasn't being picked in Villa's best 11, and we were rotating quite heavily towards the end of the season. Had a bit of a brief spurt where he was scoring goals in January. He scored a goal in the FA Cup and scored a goal in the league against West Ham, if my memory serves me correctly. But he hasn't kicked on. I've done shows all through the summer saying I think Ramsey's kind of a vulnerable one, that if Forest were to hit a certain number or a club was to hit a certain number, then I think Jacob Ramsey could be vulnerable. This again is going to be really, really interesting with him. I think Forest, it's a good move for players looking to kind of kick on and get something back. Elliot Anderson was an academy player at Forest, at Newcastle as well, who's gone to Forest and done really, really well and was one of the best midfielders in the Premier League last season. So Forest have shown that they're a good club to go to if you want to kind of get your career back on track and you're in that kind of 20 to 25 age bracket. Now, much will maybe hinge on Morgan Gibbs-White and whether that move to Tottenham does happen. If it does, I think we're looking at Forest coming for Ramsey, and it will be interesting to see how the club reacts. I think that's the bit that's unknown at the moment. How would the club react to a sensible offer for Jacob Ramsey? Would they be willing to let him go? Very, very interesting. although I've kind of said previously he'd almost be an acceptable loss, I don't really want to lose him if we don't have to. But if it does give us the kind of freedom to go out there and buy 3 or 4 players that Emery really thinks would improve this squad and give us a better chance next season, I probably would reluctantly accept it. And just a guesswork from me here that I think maybe the club feel that way too. So very, very interesting to see that if a club hits the right number, if Forest hit the right number, what happens with Jacob Ramsey. Next on my list is Aston Villa close to selling Enzo Barrenechea to Benfica in a £15 million euro deal. Now, Fabrizio's already tweeted, here we go, this is medical's about to happen, I think, or probably has already happened actually at the time of me recording. Now, he's off. We've made a tiny profit. Clearly, if Emery thought he was good enough, I think he'd be integrated into the first team. Again, with these sales, every little bit of sale we can do helps us, gives us a little bit more freedom for Emery to be able to do what he wants in the transfer market this season in terms of incomings. I've seen a mixed reaction to it. People kind of get it and other people are upset about it because they think he's got talent. I'm not going to sit here and say I've seen loads of him playing for Valencia because I haven't, but the clips were good and you hear good things about him. But there's obviously something that makes Emery think, this is fine. We don't need him. We're quite strong in central midfield as well. If you to look at the area that we're strongest, it's probably central midfield now that we know a couple of players have gone back from loan spells. I think that midfield 4 that we've got in Kamara, Onana, Tielemans and Barkley with McGinn and Bogart potentially can facilitate in there if needs be as well. We're very, very strong in central midfield. So again, to me, an acceptable loss. You made a little bit of a profit. It was a purely PSR deal in the first place. I don't think Villa were looking at Barrenechea and had eyed him up or had been scouting him for a long period of time and, were massively enthusiastic about him coming. It was a necessity at the time. So I wouldn't lose too much sleep over it. I think in the main people are, and there'll be people that are disappointed. Look, he's got something because he's been in the Argentina squad, but my inkling is that it's probably a feel that he's not directly suited for the Premier League. Now, he's played well for Valencia and he's in the Argentina setup, as I say. That's different to the hustle and bustle of the Premier League. So my kind of gut feeling on this is that the club have identified that they don't think he's suitable for the Premier League. They've taken the money, mini profit, as I've said, and we move on and carry on with life. That's just the way football is. I've seen as well that Louis Barry is close to going to Sheffield United on loan. That's a little bit disappointing in terms of not getting a transfer fee for him. Now, he isn't going to make it at Aston Villa, unfortunately. Big Villa fan, come with a lot of fanfare, come with a lot of promise. Had that moment in the FA Cup against Liverpool, but Villa have moved on from Louis Barry, unfortunately, a player at his level right now. I'm not saying he'll never play Premier League football, but right now he wouldn't be able to sustain a full season in the Premier League. He's got to go and play in the Championship. We had a deal agreed with Hull. That's gone away. Sheffield United, we've done business with before, obviously with the young forward, with Cameron Archer. Haven't seen too much around this deal at the moment, but I'm imagining it's a loan with a kind of view to buying him as well for a certain amount of fees. He signed a new contract recently, so Villa protected themselves there, so he's got a fair duration on his contract. Yeah, it would have been nice to get that pure fee, but we're not going to get it this summer. Louis Barry's going to go to Sheffield United and probably do very well, and then maybe off the back of the season in the Championship, he becomes a low-end Premier League player, and good luck to him. Wish him all the best, Louis Barry. Big Villa fan from a family full of Villa fans as well. Hasn't really worked out for him at the football club, but he'll go and undoubtedly have a great career. I've got no worries about that at all. So yeah, Louis Barry to Sheffield United was the only other thing I really wanted to pick up on. Now, I'm sure as soon as I come off doing this, something will break, something will happen, and I'll have to potentially come on again at some point. Probably not today, unfortunately, as I'm busy. But I didn't want to do this live because I just wanted to make sure, give myself a little bit of time without the pressure of doing a live and setting up a live. So I've not done it live, but there'll be plenty more lives to come through the week. I'll try and get one done before the end of the week so we can engage with the audience, which I always like doing. Should have another show tomorrow. Well, there will be a show of some description tomorrow and Friday, but I did have a special show lined up for tomorrow, but I need to catch up with the person that I was supposed to do it with. If you have enjoyed the show and you've been watching via YouTube, if you could give this video a like, and please subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on. Subscriber numbers have slowed down again, so if you're watching this and you're not subscribed on YouTube, if you could do that, that would be absolutely fantastic, and hopefully you're enjoying the content on the channel, and go back and watch the videos from the start of the week that you haven't watched yet. If you haven't watched them, leave a comment as well with your thoughts on the stuff that I've talked about. And if you listened via Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us 5 stars, leave us a review, leave us a comment. All these things really, really help us. So if you're enjoying the content, I'm really glad you're enjoying it. But all these little things you can do really, really help us as a channel. Right then, thank you very much. I'm going to go. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, up the Villa.